let's move on here and talk a little Cardinals baseball because I wanna sit here at 1:23 almost on a Wednesday, and I want to tell you guys that you didn't think Jay Happ could have a couple good outings. Okay, now I may have said that John Lester was going to be okay. Maybe I just got the wrong 36 to 38-year-old lefty because Jay Happ coming on in here, Jim Heuer, taking care of business against one of the best teams in baseball in the Pittsburgh Pirates.
He did well. He gave them exactly what they wanted. Am I surprised? Yes, I will admit, because the last start for him prior to becoming a Cardinal, what was it, like 8 runs or something? I mean,
it was awful.
It was brutal.
Oh.
And he had not been good since probably April, consistently. The last 2 starts, he's looked pretty darn good. His velocity's at the 90-91 spot, which I didn't realize that. I'll be honest, I didn't watch many of his starts in Minnesota. But a lefty who can throw 90-91 and kind of throw some strikes and has some deception, there's life left in that arm, which I didn't see coming.
Speaking of giving credit, because this gentleman, Jeff Jones, is the one that tweeted this out, Jim Heuer, you brought this up. It's funny because Jay Happ throwing 90-91 is like 100 miles per hour for this particular Cardinals pitching staff. And I'll find the exact tweet here, but it was the fact that now with the new guys in the rotation, here it is. Jay Happ is the only Cardinals starter. Now remember, this is with Jack Flaherty and Miles Michaelis on the IL. Mm-hmm. Clearly, those guys both throw much harder.
Right.
But when it was Happ, Lester, Wainwright, Kim, Wade LeBlanc, and Kim now is on the IL as well. But Happ is and was the only Cardinal starter at present with any pitch with an average velocity greater than 90 miles per hour. Jeff Jones of the Belleville News Democrat looked that up. See, Cam, I credit people. That's what I do.
That's exactly what you do.
But that's pretty funny because Lester, his 4-seam fastball was 89 miles per hour. Wainwright's sinker, 89.5 miles per hour. Kim's 4-seamer, 88.9. Wade LeBlanc's 4-seam fastball, 87.7. So, Jim, as you said, Jay Happ is basically throwing 106. He's like Jordan Hicks of this current rotation.
Pretty crazy. Look, he did well. And you go, good, give him another start. Let's see what he can do. Something Derek Gould said on the station, I don't know if it was this week or last week, which I thought was interesting because prior to these 2 veterans coming along, it was always, maybe these young kids can watch Adam Wainwright and learn some things and talk to him in between starts and that kind of thing. Derek brought something up, and he mentioned John Lester and Jay Happ might be able to learn also from Waino because they're going through the same stages in their career where they're trying to reinvent themselves, right, or go through things. And maybe by watching Waino, they can pick up a few things because they've all lost some velocity and things off of their fastball. And he brought up the storyline back in spring training. They were playing the Nationals, and Max Scherzer put in his 2 innings, and instead of leaving, he stuck around. He watched Wainwright pitch. It was kind of like, what did you stick around for Wainwright for? What was it? He goes, because not too long from now, I'm going to be doing the same thing he's doing, and that is trying to reinvent myself with what is left. And he goes, he has done it, and I want to watch him and see if I can pick anything up. And I'm not saying that has happened, but at some point you think those 2 veterans have been around long enough, they're going to watch Adam and go, oh, maybe I could try that. Maybe I can learn something there. Maybe Wade LeBlanc has, because he's been here, and he's actually been pretty respectable.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation, too, with what's going to happen. We always do this, by the way. We do this every winter when the Cardinals seemingly have 6 starters. Who's not going to be in the rotation? There's always an injury.
We got too many.
By the way, this year there's been 17 injuries, but there's always at least one injury. Isn't it ironic, Alanis Morissette? Come on now. Now, last week, the whole conversation was when Michaelis comes back, when Flaherty comes back, you just picked up Happ and Lester. You got Wade LeBlanc. You got Adam Wainwright. Who leaves the starting rotation? And what happens before that decision even has to be made? KK goes on the IL. And by the way, if there's ever a team, and I know the Cardinals probably won't do this because it's too outside the box, even though nowadays it really isn't. If there's any team in bullpen that could actually benefit from, let's say, one piggyback start per week. If you piggybacked, and this is when everybody was healthy, but if you piggybacked one of these righties, like a Michaelis coming off the injured list with one of the lefties, let's say Happ or LeBlanc, knowing that the narrative of the last 2 months is going to be you can't use, and it's been the narrative for the first 4 months, you can't use Genesis Cabrera, Gio Gallegos, and Alex Reyes every night. You're already overusing them, and I get it. It's because, in a way, you have to. You have no other options. If there's any team that could benefit with 6 guys that can throw bulk innings just once a week, if you had basically LeBlanc back up Miles Michaelis, and you said almost every game those 2 guys are going to bring us home, that would actually make a lot of sense with the 2021 Cardinals. However, with Kim now hitting the IL, I don't know if that will have to, be an option.
It's a great concept. I don't know if this manager would try that. He
doesn't even do opening.
He's kind of hesitant to do a lot of things different or off the wall sometimes. But I think it would definitely be an option, especially to your point. You're getting to the point where guys' arms are getting tired. And if you got 2 fresh ones to go in one game to get yourself a victory, why would you not do it? I really don't know why you wouldn't. It's a great point.
And so we talk about the Cardinals pretty much every single day. And sometimes after we have a conversation, I think to myself, are we being too negative? Am I being too negative? Even when the Cardinals, they go and they win a game, it is the Pirates. But even on a day where you beat the Pittsburgh Pirates and you get a really nice start from J. Happ and they take care of business and Tommy Edman leads things off with a home run, still on a quote-unquote positive day, you actually lost ground in the standings because the Brewers swept the Cubs, and the Padres obviously also won. And that's where, as we get here into mid-August, look, we all want the Cardinals to sweep the Pirates. They probably will. They should. But here as we stand on, August 11th, they're 11 back in the division. I personally have forgotten about the division. I don't even really look at that anymore. I feel like Milwaukee, the team bust would have to get struck by lightning for Milwaukee not to win the division, at least over the Cardinals, I should say. Cincinnati's 7 back. But the second wild card is what I've looked at for a while there. And a week or so ago, it's at, 6.5, and you're thinking, okay, can the Cardinals carve into that? Can they get it down to 4? Could they get it down to 3 and make it just something where you have a fighting chance? And Jim, I think... Hold on. I think I set the over-under on 2.5, and I said, the Cardinals, they're going to get there. And now I just wonder if they're going to get there, Cam.
Well, Jimmy, just real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Look, I'm just saying, if you listen to Mike Schilt after every damn game, he's like, we worked our tails off. And I know I chirped him for that. So if they're doing the best they can, and they're still, how many games have they had? How many times this year have they been under 500 and now back to 500? Like 22 times, where it's just like back and forth. And this is what they are. They're just average. Oh, boy said it the other day. Like, they're just an average team. I just don't think that they're going to move any place. And it's weird because when it might be cryptic when Schilt says that, but kind of Andy Murray said the same thing back in the day. Remember that, Jimmy, when he's like, well, I got the pieces. I know what you're talking about. This is what they are. Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, I just don't know how else to explain it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the savant. I mean, a little bit, I guess. I'm a pretty baseball savant and volleyball and things like that. But I'm saying is, if he's saying this over and over again, and they're going back and forth from 500, like this is what they are, and everything kind of boils down to the management, in my opinion.
You're right, and that's where we all want to have hope. I surely don't ever try to have blind hope. I do still think the Cardinals will get closer in the second wild card. Now, maybe that's only 5 games. They're going to have a stretch here where they go 5-1 against Royals, Pirates, and if San Diego if they kind of fall off and go 2-4, although I know Jim said they play the Diamondbacks 48 times, it seems like over the next month or so. But I do think the Cardinals, okay, can they get to 5? But at the end of the day, look, as Cam said, you look at the team, they're 56-56. They basically hover between 1 over 500 and 1 under, seemingly for the last 6 weeks. I've never been Mr. Run differential. I think it's interesting. I think it can tell you a lot, but also it's every 9-inning game you're trying to win. So if you win a couple of them 15-1 and you lose a couple of them 9-1, obviously that can skewer that. But over the course of 112 games, it does tell a story. And the Cardinals' run differential is minus 42. Okay, so over 112 games, that means what? They're basically being outscored about a third of a run per game. And look at it. Here's the team you're chasing, by the way. Now, Milwaukee, which I've said we're not even worried about them anymore, but they're plus 93. They're plus 93 on run differential, and that's for the most part based on their pitching, because their pitching is unbelievable. They have 3 fantastic starters. I know Hader's out, but you have a couple really good relievers in Devin Williams from St. Louis, and Brad Boxberger's been good. But look at the other team you're chasing. The San Diego Padres, they would probably be the best team in the Central Division if they were playing Central teams. Don't you think, Jim?
Oh, yeah,
because,
easily.
look, they're 17 games over, and I know that the Brewers are 22 games over, but the Brewers get to play, for the most part, the Reds, the Cardinals, the Cubs, and Pittsburgh. San Diego has to play San Francisco, who's 72 and 41. They have to play the Dodgers, who are 68 and 45. And so the Padres, they have a plus 108 run differential. That's easy math. They've scored 150 more runs, or in terms of differential, I should say, than the St. Louis Cardinals. When you start to look at that, they're not really in the same ballpark, pun intended, in terms of quality of team. That's the team you're chasing, and the Cardinals really aren't very close to them at all.
100% in agreement with you. I can't disagree. And as far as the wild card, don't forget, you mentioned Cincinnati's in front of the Cardinals, well, so is Atlanta, who is just a game behind the Phillies right now. So you got to contend with those two teams. Whoever wins that division, the other team is in the wild card. And the Mets are still, they're floundering, but they're still ahead of the Cardinals. That's too many teams in front of St. Louis to even think about making a run at this thing. By the way, they're at 500 today. They have to go 10 games above 500 to realistically think they're in the race for a wild card. And if that happens, you're at least 10 days away if they go on a 10-game winning streak, and they're not doing that. So you're running out of time.
On the text line, 855-282-8255. Get him in. Biff's Bulldozers texting and says, Marlow Lemming in the house, so I have to read that one. Eric in Central West End says, not to sound too much like Homer Frank, whom I love. We all love Frank, by the way.
We love Frank.
Hey, Frank is positive. He's an optimist.
Love him.
I also like to be an optimist, okay? It's better to live your life as an optimist. But with all the games remaining against the Brewers, but also, are they going to beat the Brewers? I know I said that like with a very high-pitched voice. And with Flaherty coming back, I think they actually have a good chance to get back into this. Eric in the Central West End. And one more, because I feel like it's related. Where is it here? Okay, Splashback says, the Cardinals are an easy team on other teams' strength of schedule. Enough said. And that's where, too. Yes, we always talk about, well, hey, look at the schedule. You got the Pirates. You got the Royals. Other teams probably look at the Cardinals. And I'm not trying to say they're the Pirates.
Oh, they do.
No. Let's be fair. They're not the Pirates. No. They're not the Royals. But nobody is looking at the Cardinals right now and saying, oh, that's the 2013 Cardinals. That's the 2015
they're the
Cardinals.
Blackhawks of last year.
They're a solid team that they feel like they can absolutely beat.
Yeah, absolutely. No, exactly. And when you go into a ballpark or a rink or whatever, and you see, and you just have a cockier mindset when you go in. Now, sometimes you can get embarrassed, but you're right, and that's a weird thing to say with this organization, and it really hasn't. It kind of was teetering on that line, but now you look at it, you're like, yeah. Oh, we're playing them. Okay, that's cool. Okay, we'll do what we had to do. We'll make our adjustments, but they are in that category of just being like, yeah, they're mediocre. We should go there and sweep them.
And I will still say, I don't know what the exact total is. I just find it hard to believe that this team at 56 and 56, with all of their awful injury luck starting rotation, with a lot of underperformance, where some of those guys like a Ryan Helsley, Andrew Miller coming back, you're getting better performances out of some of these guys, not all of them. I still think, though, that just even Flaherty alone with 10 more starts in 2021, I still think the Cardinals will finish above 500. Now, I know that's not like some crazy going off on a limb, but I think they'll finish 3 or 4 games, whatever it is, above 500. Still won't make the playoffs, though. That's where I see it right now.
Okay. I said a while back that they weren't going to be above 500, but they're at 500 today. Michaelis is coming back in maybe another 6 days, and Flaherty's back in 2. So the reality is, they have a better chance of getting above 500. And I will 100% agree with you. No chance on the playoffs.
And that's where,
none.
In my opinion, Flaherty helps you win games, not in just the game he's pitching. And I say that because he, alongside with Adam Wainwright, when healthy, they're the only guys in this rotation that can go deep. They're the only guys that will give you 7 innings on any given night. Now, obviously, when Jack Flaherty's coming back from an oblique, they're not going to push him right out of the gate. And you could probably make the case that this year, does it make that much sense to really push a guy who's your meal ticket if this 2021 Cardinals team is not very good? However, if Jack Flaherty is back and he's healthy, he is a pitcher that can give you 7 innings and every once in a while can go past that. And that's where, in a Jack Flaherty start, if you can get a win, Jim and Cam, and not have to use all 3 of the law firm, if any one of those guys, Cabrera, Gio Gallegos, and Reyes, can get the night off, that helps you win the next game when Jack Flaherty is not pitching because they're fresh.
They're with you 100%. Well, last night, you said we complain a lot when the Cardinals win, right? 4-1. But I'm telling you, I'm sitting here watching the game. I'm going, hey, couple home runs, great. But I'm doing the same exact thing you're talking about. It's a 3-run lead. It's the Pirates. For crying out loud, do you have to use Cabrera tonight? Because you won't be able to use him in games 2 or 3 of the series. Let Helsley finish the inning. I know it's a lefty. He just walked a guy, but he also struck out the previous 2. It's a left-hander. At some point, if you're a major league pitcher, you got to get somebody else out. You got to let him eat a little bit. That was, again, that's to your point, overuse. I felt last night could have been an overuse. And it was an inning and a third for Cabrera. So guess what? Mm-hmm. He's out tonight. He's already eliminated from the equation, and you had a 3-run lead and a victory. You also use Reyes, who you could use tonight, but you can't use him a third time in this series already.
So did anybody complain about that at the end, though? Did anybody ask Schilt that question?
No, I don't think so, because everybody, hey, it was a win. Everybody, those are the little things you just kind of throw off to the side until you get to tonight's game in the 7th inning and you go, oh, wait a minute, you can't use Cabrera because you used him for an inning and a third last night. Oh, that's not good. Why did we do that? It was a 3-run lead.
And Mike Schilt, each and every night, it's his job. He makes the tough decisions. Mm-hmm. He gets paid the big bucks for doing that. It's also our job to critique and evaluate that. And there's been several times where I'll say, look, I didn't like that particular move, and you should 100% call out Mike Schilt. I do think, though, big picture, that this is not a good bullpen. It's not a deep bullpen.
No, it's not.
And so Mike Schilt has been put in the position of having to make multiple hard decisions every single night based on performance and usage because the front office, whether it's because injury, underperformance, or not providing him enough depth, they don't have enough options. So Mike Schilt has very difficult decisions to make each and every night to win tonight's game, where you have to go get that game, but also trying to have a good chance to win tomorrow night's game. And look, I know the Cardinals, they're not the White Sox, but I watched a White Sox game the other day, and I was just thinking about Tony La Russa with this bullpen in the playoffs. And you start to look at the names Tony La Russa has in the bullpen and just compare it to the Cardinals. And I say that because this is a 500 team versus a championship, legit World Series contending team. And I'm just talking about the bullpen. I'm not even discussing the White Sox starters and their lineup with a bunch of young studs. Tony La Russa can hand the ball to either Craig Kimbrell, whose numbers were ridiculous. I know he got hit around last week in one outing. Liam Hendricks has been the best reliever in baseball the last couple of years. He can go 2 innings, by the way. They scoop up Ryan Tepera, who was awesome for the Cubs. They have Bummer, who's a really good lefty there. Michael Kopech was one of their top prospects as a starter, who's now throwing 100 miles per hour in the bullpen. I just rang off, 5 or 6 names where all of those dudes would probably be the best, if not right up there with an Alex Reyes and Gio. And look, Genesis Cabrera, those guys have been good. But Tony has 6 or 7 legit options where he feels confident every night handing them the baseball. Mike Schilt feels confident handing 3 dudes the baseball, and he knows he can't hand them the baseball 3 nights in a row.
Yes. Last night was one of those nights I felt he should have went in a different direction, at least for another inning or a half inning, just because of the fact that we just went through all the information and the numbers. 56 wins so far for the team, right? Reyes has 26 saves. That's over half, right? Or almost half. That's too many for ways to get victories. Again, it's the crutch, but it's also sometimes a necessary evil that he's got to use them every time we try and get a win. It shouldn't have to be that way. Especially, look, they're playing the Pirates last night. It wasn't the Dodgers lineup they were trying to get through. It was the Pirates. You should be able to get through that lineup with a couple different guys.
And that's where the run differential conversation, I'll now argue with myself in the sense of the Cardinals, they really do need more. They need a 9-1 win versus the Pirates. They need 8-1 wins versus the Royals. They need to blow up the scoreboard so they can hand the ball to whoever it is that's not the three guys we mentioned and feel comfortable. Go back a couple weeks where Mike Shildt didn't even feel comfortable with a 5-run lead, right? I mean, let's be real. With some of these guys, you have to be up 9-1 for Mike Shildt to feel really good to not hand the ball to Alex Reyes or Gio Gallegos in the 8th and 9th.
We did see a 6-1 lead.
That's what I'm saying.
Evaporate in the 9th. You're right about that.
Cammer, anything on your end before we break there, buddy?
Gino, always positive. The season is over. Over. I'm not sure why they're using any of the law firm more than a couple times a week. Start getting some guys up here and see who's close to being ready. Meh. He put that at the end.
I like the idea. The problem is all the guys that were up here earlier are the same guys, and they failed. And I'm not trying. Elledge, who I don't know, the whole group that's been sent down.
Whitley,
Woodford. They've all failed.
They all sound like bourbons.
Yes, they do. He brings up a great point. At some point, you'd say, let's bring some kids up instead of using the Justin Millers and the T.J. McFarlands. But the reality is all those guys were tried already. There is no more options.
And that's where you have to step back and laugh. I cannot remember another Cardinal season, and I've been here since 2008, where you brought up more dudes coming off other teams that I had to Google their names when I read the press release. And this is coming from somebody that there's no sport I follow more than baseball. And a lot of that is from fantasy and gambling. But when you get the TJ McFarlands of the world and the Justin Millers of the world, like we've heard of Wade LeBlanc, but about 10 times this year, I've had to Google the player that the Cardinals are acquiring. And I don't think that's a good thing.
I never remember Waddell's first name. Was it Brandon? He was here and gone.
But that tells you a lot. We don't actually remember his name.
He's that good you don't remember.